But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. Let's take the case of Ronald Farber. Ronald played cornhole all afternoon, and he didn't feel like throwing bags alone, so he decided to ask another boy. He'd done it 100 times before. He didn't think anything was unusual when the boy struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. What Ronald didn't know was that Ralph was sick. A sickness that was not visible like swine flu, but no less dangerous and contagious. A sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a conspiracy theorist, a paranoid person with a desperate need to feel they have a special knowledge that somehow sets them apart from the masses. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful. If they are too open-minded, if they question the official versions of the facts, and if they don't trust the United States government. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. He may appear normal.
Is that who I think it is?
Yep, sure is. Did you hear he ditched the man cave and brought back the study?
That's so sexy. I love it when a man is educated and informed.
He is so dreamy, always reading books and investigating history.
Where do you think he works out?
The library.
He is so controversial, always talking about 9/11 being an inside job, the police state, constitutional rights, ancient history, government cover-ups, and how he thinks sports don't matter in real life.
Oh, I love a freethinker who searches for truth. I love it when he feeds my brain. What's his name? Kristan T. Harris.
They invented the internet and ravers. You could find the sluggo standing on this very spot, holding up the torch for his Minnesota hip-hop. The city bus cuts through the snow twice as good as your imported all-terrain vehicle ever could. And these boots were made for keeping my feet warm, and that's just what they'll do until the day we're all reborn. The headphones I wear push the wind off my ears, turn the volume up to 7 so I never have to hear these people that keep trying to make me insecure with the toxins they continue to breathe into the air. The music that my soul hungers and hurts to hold, and the women that have watched me unravel and unfold, the worries that carry me through my busy endeavors, and the passion that compels me to withstand the weather. The child that I vow to teach and guide and keep me fired and forever trying to reach the sky. I'm just a man, a musician, a brother, a lover, a dad. Take my hand, all I am is all I have. It's in the gateway passage. It's minute as an atom that grows out to be so massive. When it starts so innocent, ended up to be so tragic. It goes from what you can't fathom to what you can imagine. Belly full to die from famine to the doctor that examines the skull. From the patients being exerted, worded out from the nonsense unfit for appropriate usage. Proper preparation she's my muse, and with her use, I plan to change your frame of mind. I find I'm chosen, no longer deaf and dozing, composing its path. The sonic staff within my hand, it stands firm, concentrated and stern. The sharpest turn reveals a light of brightest brilliance, resilient in each and every way, each and every day. Every note we play is a miracle on display. No contradictions, her position still remains, and that's all that I have.
Oil and slave labor. These two wonderful industries make modern life a breeze. And what this fine little filly doesn't realize is that her chic accessories and stunning appearance come from oil and slave labor.
Huh?
That's right, classy lassie. Everything from your thong to your nail polish, your smartphone to your eyelashes come from oil and slave labor. Your top from Uzbekistan. Shorts from China. Jewelry from Indonesia. And your iPhone from Taiwan.
Oh no, not my iPhone!
Steve Jobs may have been a genius, but he couldn't work like a 5-year-old Asian boy can. Even your bra and panties from Bangladesh. Whoa there! Looks like science can go no further. Except for these silicone beauties from DuPont.
Hey.
Oil and slave labor, making the Western world beautiful.
This is Band Questions, take 1. Who?
What?
When?
Where?
Why? How?
Question.
Questions.
When I was growing up, I had so many questions.
I think that questions lead to more questions.
Ignorance is bliss.
By middle school,
A child's curiosity is at an all-time high.
And that's because kids like to ask questions.
We need to help them tune out.
Truth doesn't matter.
let's just ban questions altogether.
And encourage kids to do what they're told.
To be dull and uninformed.
Listen to the voice of authority.
There are limits.
Dare to be boring.
You can't change the world.
Let's ban questions.
Be dumb. Be you.
Ban questions.
Encourage kids to obey today. Take the pledge at thejoycamp.com.
We're not asking, we're telling.
I didn't want to give any of my money to a nation based on war. I wanted to be free, nothing holding me back from where I want to go. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? Was you take away the money, don't give up your money. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. I didn't want to waste any of my time working for the government. I wanted to be kind, open up my mind, just like an instrument. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? Was to take away the money, don't give up your money. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay.
Tooth decay got you down? To maintain the aesthetics and health of your teeth, try Illuminate with fluoride. It strengthens your enamel, defends your teeth against bacteria and plaque, and protects your gums from gingivitis. And unlike non-fluoride toothpaste, it promotes new bone formation, giving you that pearly white smile you've always dreamed of. Exposure to fluoride may cause tooth discoloration, weakened enamel, and dental fluorosis, allergic or hypersensitive skin reactions, gastric distress and headache, as well as sleep disorder, diminished IQ, inability to focus, memory loss, lethargy, and weakness may occur. More serious fluoride side effects include brain cancer, DNA damage, thyroid disruption, Alzheimer's disease, accelerated aging, skeletal fluorosis, pineal gland calcification, and in rare cases may be fatal. Overdose of fluoride symptoms may include nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, diarrhea, drooling, numbness or tingling, loss of feeling anywhere in your body, muscle stiffness or seizure. Fluoride ingestion may also disrupt the synthesis of collagen and lead to a breakdown of collagen in bone, tendon, muscle, skin, cartilage, lungs, kidney, trachea, and arteries. If you experience any of these behaviors, contact your doctor immediately. Say cheese with confidence. Visit any retailer anywhere for Illuminate toothpaste with fluoride.
And because of this administration, we are tonight a world divided. We are a nation becalmed. We have lost the brisk pace of diversity and the genius of individual creativity. We are plodding along at a pace set by centralized planning, red tape, rules without responsibility, and regimentation without recourse.
Madam Speaker, I have a few questions for my colleagues. What if our foreign policy of the past century is deeply flawed and has not served our national security interests? What if we wake up one day and realize that the terrorist threat is a predictable consequence of our meddling in the affairs of others and has nothing to do with us being free and prosperous?
To be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting out. Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan.
Promise of being one of the most effective treatments for AIDS and cancer in history. Now it's gone, and one of the most respected research facilities in the country is being blamed.
Participation in a process that validates an establishment that never meaningfully changes. What if that establishment doesn't want and doesn't have the consent of the governed? What if the two-party system was actually a mechanism used to limit so-called public opinion? What if there were more than two sides to every issue, but the two parties wanted to box you into a corner, one of their corners?
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of the Rundown Live, Kristi T. Harris.
Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. I'm your host, Kristi T. Harris, and we got a new broadcast for you in 2026, and we got a lot going on here at the Rundown Live, and I'm really excited to see everyone jumping in the chat, and we got an interesting show today. You have to be living underneath a rock to have not noticed the story about Renee Good in Minnesota and the lethal confrontation with the ICE agents. We're going to be going over that, and we're going to have some questions, and we're going to look over some different opinions on the subject. We'll be hanging out with you guys for at least an hour. So if you want to drop some comments in the chat, you can let me know. Do you think lethal force was justified on Renee Good in Minnesota? And we're finding out more and more details about the situation. And it's kind of scary, you know, to think about, because there's a lot of different things. Okay, first of all, my chat was blowing up today because I don't know, I wasn't really trolling. It's just one of those things. Government seems to try to protect you from stuff, but they end up hurting you, right? If illegal aliens are going to commit crimes and hurt you, the government might just shoot you, right? And a lot of people are like talking about this clip that we'll be airing here in a little bit about Renee Good getting shot by ICE agents. And it's interesting reading the chats because a lot of people are like, well, it was justified. But just because it's justified doesn't mean it wasn't avoidable, okay? And there's a couple of different ways the situation could have been avoidable. So if you guys don't know the situation, Renee Good was in her vehicle, and what it looks like on the video is she has an encounter with ICE agents. She backs up the vehicle, and one ICE agent is telling her to drive and get out of here. And another one, I guess, came around to the front and said, get out of your car. So she put it in forward, and she ended up, I believe it looked like she hit one of these agents, or he just got out of the way, but he also opened a few rounds of ammo into the car, shooting Renee Good, I believe, in the face and killing her. So now there's a large amount of people in Minnesota that are gathering. It looks like it could be a very close similarity to a George Floyd-like scenario. It's a powder keg, let's be honest. Like, when George Floyd went off a few years ago, I was kind of at the center of that, right? I went to Minneapolis. I covered it. I had 20,000 people in my Facebook feed. You know, people were messaging me, what's going on? Where are you at? You're in Minnesota? Like, people watching the Rundown Live. And when I came back home, it didn't take long for Jacob Blake to happen. And then that led to the Kenosha unrest, Kyle Rittenhouse, right? So how far are we from that happening again, or that kind of scenario happening again? I see we got a bunch of people in the chat. Dank, what's going on? Jason Wango, what's going on? But I'm taking a look, and I have a couple questions when we're looking at this, right? So first of all, we have an ICE agent who is probably trigger happy. I was looking this up, and somebody sent me this. Obviously, ICE follows DHS protocol because they are a subsidiary of Department of Homeland Security. So here it says to DHS, LEOs should seek to employ tactics and techniques that effectively bring an incident under control while promoting the safety of the LEOs and the public, and that minimize the risk of unintended injury or serious property damage. DHS LEOs should also avoid intentionally or unreasonably placing themselves in a position in which they have no alternative to using deadly force. So the idea here is law enforcement and government are in positions daily where they can use lethal force, right? And they often could be putting themselves into these positions of lethal force, right? In this scenario, we see an ICE agent going in front of the vehicle, right? And is that potentially putting himself in a position of danger? It says in their handbook, well, you don't want to put yourself in this kind of thing. You should not be trying to get in front of a moving car ever. But this agent felt the need to. So his life was in jeopardy when she started driving forward, and he unloaded a few shots. So the question has been, is this really justified? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the video for you guys. And I want to see what you guys think. I don't know if this is going to play sound, all right? So this is me using the new software here at the Rundown Live and kind of trying to get you guys into the new wave of what we're doing here. And here it is. This is the video of Renee Good getting shot by law enforcement. And here we go. And this is what we have, right? So here's Renee right there in the car to the right. And this guy comes up to her. He's law enforcement. No! She's just trying to get through, and he says to get out of the fucking car. And that guy on the left there just unloads a few bullets into her. Let's watch this again slowly. Here we go. So here comes the law enforcement, right? She's kind of blocking the road. We don't know the situation. Is she trying to get home? Allegedly, she lived in the neighborhood, right? And she could have been just trying to get home, or some people were saying online that she's a paid actor. I thought about that, but where's the evidence? She's a paid crisis actor. Okay, do we have evidence? Otherwise, it's just a bunch of right-wing propaganda, right? And Donald Trump was quick to come out and say she was a part of the evil protest, I hear. But was she? There's some questions I have here, because her mother, who identified her body, had this to say about her, all right? She said, Donna Ganger, which is her mother, told the Minnesota Star Tribune that her daughter lived in the Twin Cities with her partner. Ganger said the family was notified of the death late Wednesday morning. Quote, "That's so stupid," end quote, that she was killed, Ganger said. After learning some of the circumstances from a reporter, she was probably terrified. Ganger said her daughter is not is, quote, not part of anything like that at all, end quote, referring to the protesters challenging ICE. So her mother believes that she wasn't a part. I don't know if that she could be she could have definitely still been a part of the event, right? She could have been a part of the protest and her mother just didn't know. Maybe she's got a Trump mom. I don't know. She had a partner. She was married and she lost her husband, but now I think she's batting from the other side of the plate, per se. But Renee was one of the kindest people, her mother said, I've ever known. She was extremely compassionate. She takes care of people all her life. She was loving, forgiving, and affectionate. She was an amazing human being. And while searching for her, I couldn't find any social media. But then when I found out there was an Instagram account, I found it. And it was like weird because there was like no internet presence for her. None. Which seems to go in line with a lot of other weird social media people that are involved. It's almost like the government erases them. I don't know if that's the case here. Or it could be private. You know, a lot of people are getting off of social media, right? She's in a relationship. Maybe she removed social media. I'm not quite sure. But if we look up her Instagram, she just has it's like 41 followers and not a very big presence, right? Can't find anything suggesting that she's an activist of any sort. So if anyone has any information out there, you can drop it in the chat or you can send me an email at showtips@therundownlive.com. Drop it on my Facebook comments or whatever, and we'll see what we can do to get to it. But people are like, this is a paid Soros actor. And I'm like, I don't know, because people were quick to come out and say things about her like, what was it? I have it pulled up here. Didn't they say that she was a domestic terrorist? See, this is what's happening. Now that the right wing has been called and deemed domestic terrorists since January 6th, the right now wants, and it has been ready and waiting to use that term on the left, right? So now here it is. She used her vehicle in a way to harm this thug, right, with a gun. And some people out there are like, well, ICE is just trying to deport dangerous minorities that are here illegally. And I understand that, right? But the problem is the way they're going about it. It wasn't too long ago that in Chicago, they had American citizens thrown to the ground, face down with guns pointed to their head while they were searching a hotel for illegal minorities here in the United States. Like, that isn't how we police. The reason why I'm upset with this is 99.9% of law enforcement officers would not have escalated the situation and would have avoided shooting her because of the fact that they would have used discernment and been like, that's not a good idea. The problem is now they've ignited a powder keg by doing such a thing, especially in an area like Minnesota. It's kind of weird. It's like they've been waiting for this opportunity. Here it is. And now it's going to be politicized, right? We're talking about the left-right paradigm. They're controlling and social engineering the left to think a thing and the right to think a thing. Like the right thinks that, the shooting was justified. The ICE agent was well within his rights. People are saying that she's a paid actor, which I've seen no evidence of. Again, people can say whatever, right? There's memes. People troll. People post things for clickbait. What is the truth? Right? That's what we're here to do, is root out that cognitive dissonance that's sitting in your brain and a lot of times grows. Because there's a lot of people out there that would have defended Lavoy Finicum and Ashley Babbitt in a situation that was, they're all different. But again, here we have a law enforcement of some sort impacting our society and shooting and killing maybe an innocent woman. I guess people want to say, well, she didn't follow the orders. She didn't get out of the car. She could have done those things, right? She might have been terrified for her life, like her mom says here in this article. By the way, if anyone wants to know, the article is from the Minnesota Star Tribune, so one of their main newspapers. I don't know the political leanings of the newspaper, but I'm going to assume it's leftist, right? Because almost all media is. So I would like to see some more evidence out there. I'd like to see more information on this situation as it progresses. So if you guys want to send that to me, you can. But I'm kind of perplexed, right? So we got this situation, and then I wanted to check in to see what my homie Barry Cooper, who was a top cop, had to say about this situation. And when I looked into it, it was very interesting because Barry believes, as a former cop, that, let's see here, we'll put it on the screen for you guys. All right, where are we at? Right here, okay. Barry had this to say. He said, this shooting will be ruled justified using the standard claim of imminent fear of death or serious bodily injury, right? And the thing is law enforcement can put themselves in situations where they know that they're going to have, like, they have the right to do that. And so if you make a bad decision, well, if they're trigger happy, so what? We're sorry. And what really separates us from third world countries is the discernment of law enforcement officers of when to use that and when not to use that, right? Not to intentionally put themselves in those positions like we read in the DHS manual, which is what they're not supposed to do, which the ICE agent did do. But Barry Cooper goes on to say, I could have invoked that excuse to shoot dozens of suspects. I didn't. I chose restraint. My passion was making drug seizures, not shooting people. So if you want to shoot people and you want to put yourself in a position that you know you can, and you're going to do that, that's kind of being a thug, right? That's kind of crazy. That ICE agent probably didn't use the best discernment. And the issue is there's two things that are correct here. The driver didn't make good decisions, and that ICE agent probably didn't make good decisions, as we get more information on this as it goes along. The other crazy thing that blows my mind is how the left that basically celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, an assassination, is now playing, sympathetic to Renee Good and what happened in Minnesota. And it's like this huge hypocrisy, right? They got the right thinking, okay, Lavoy Finicum, Bundy Ranch, Ashley Bobbitt, big government is bad, authoritarian. And then we got George Floyd, and we now have Jacob Blake, and now we have Renee Good. And who knows who's next? And there will be more. I can promise you that. And it's the government that we should also and equally be worried about because they were acting unlawful. It was interesting to think about all this and how it's all going about. I had a lot of feedback on this. This was from Renee's neighbor. I just saw the interview on Renee Good's neighbor. She was an eyewitness to the shooting and death. She said the ICE agents began screaming at Good to move her car, but then they subsequently started going toward her car. They had weapons and were pulling them on the driver's side door and screaming at her then to get out of the vehicle. Understandably, she was scared out of her mind. Just like her mother said, I heard police experts being interviewed about the protocol. Each of them said the standard protocol when on foot involving a vehicle is to get out of the way of the vehicle. In no way should law enforcement go towards the vehicle, as a DHS ICE agent sure as hell did, and ended up shooting 3 rounds. Not only that, who knows where those rounds could have gone? They could have gone in a house and hit, just bad decision making all around. It's crazy to me. So let's go to the chat. Let's see what you guys have to say here. TheRundownLive.com. If you want to get in the chat, we are live on X, Facebook, YouTube, and Telegram right now. I don't know if we're live on Rumble. I don't think it went live, but we got 26 comments in the chat. And I guess we're going to go ahead and see what you guys have to say here. Obviously, we got, we got Lisa. What's going on, Lisa? I think we got a prep for coverage trip to that area. Lisa helped me out and really ran the fundraising for me to get out to DC. So thank you, Lisa. Lisa is that's her expertise. She's just a wonderful woman. Always supported this broadcast. So thank you to Lisa. Ford Fisher's in Minneapolis. I talked to him, and it's kind of weird because last time I was in Minneapolis and Ford was in DC, that's when the George Floyd stuff was getting crazy, and there was crazy stuff going on in DC because there was a march to DC. I don't remember the specifics, but anyways, that's the day the 3rd precinct burnt down. And it was really crazy to me that a lot of people are now going to head to Minneapolis. This is going to be another powder keg waiting to go off. We got Henry Sherman. It says, hi, Jason. What's going on? Sounds good. Dink. People, some scary stuff happening right now, Henry is saying in the chat. And, it is frightening because we have to think about this. Anytime you approach a law enforcement officer if that guy's had a bad day and his wife has been bitching at him all day. I mean, he has the opportunity to just snap and be like, yeah, I'm going to put myself in a position where I have to use lethal force today. I'm going to get this aggregation out. Now, I don't think majority of cops think that way, right? But I think that there's something to be said about working protests and being overworked as an ICE agent and being like treated like crap because, of course, this is protests going on because a lot of people are upset the way the president is handling the whole process with ICE agents. Not only that, even conservatives are, because once you start not following the Constitution and violating things, you start acting authoritarian, and you just sit there and you start, you just don't honor anything you've been saying. There's a great video I wanted to play on this program today, and I'll see if I can get it together for you guys while we talk a little bit. But the reason being is it kind of was spot on why conservatives are leaving Donald Trump, right? And they're no longer supporting him. His popularity is dropping. I mean, it's a bunch of things, right? It's the Epstein files, the whole weird thing about Lake Michigan yacht with a 13-year-old and her uncle, and this chick reported to the police in the 1990s that her baby was murdered by, and I don't know if it said in the document. I read the document. I don't remember. I got to pull it up. But there's all these weird things that they're trying to side rail us from, right? Get our attention. It's social engineering at its finest. Now we got people divided on this, right? You got the left who is deep throating the boot. You had these anti-fascists helping the FBI saying Proud Boys are bad, and full Bolshevik tactics, going after them, using the government as their aid to arrest their adversaries by reporting them of committing crimes. So they're little FBI agents. Now you had them deep throating the boot, and they're like, Ashley Babbitt deserved it. And now you got the right wing doing the same thing about Renee Good. And to be honest, she probably didn't deserve to die. She for all I know, she could have been just driving home. Some people said she's a protester, but again, your parents will say anything about you because they love you. I'm just saying. So there's some questions there on the authenticity of her mother, Miss Ganger there. But I don't know. The whole thing just seems like so perfectly timed with things going around the United States, with the Venezuela thing going, the low Trump ratings. This isn't going to help either. Like the response, the whole oh, she's a domestic terrorist. It's scary that we're using that term now just so loosely. How long before you're a Christian and you're a domestic terrorist, or you're a Hindi and a domestic terrorist, or you're of any other theology and a domestic terrorist, or maybe you're a libertarian and you're a domestic terrorist? It's just like the term is not losing its meaning because we're just throwing it around, and then we're going to use blunt force anytime we use that term. It's going to justify this vile behavior by law enforcement and ICE troops. It seems like they don't have a good understanding of how to deal with the public. And I really wonder who trains these guys, because they don't really understand the sovereignty of American, culture. It seems like, because Americans aren't going to put up with this. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, what's going on right now and the way they are handling it. Like again, I'm all about getting dangerous people off the streets and back to the countries where they belong. I think it's when you're killing Americans in the process that kind of makes me go, I don't know, Donald Trump, is this the right decision? I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? Man, it just blows my mind. Jason says, I wish people could see through all the government bullshit. We all need to unite against corrupt governments, right? And we can go into Venezuela. We can overthrow their government in a day, but we don't have anyone arrested from the Epstein files. And, never mind, we can't arrest anyone there. But, we got all this oil all of a sudden, which, by the way, Don Vi Jr. and I were on InfoWars hosting the War Room I was hosting. And he said just that. He's like, they got a lot of oil. I think we're going to go get it. And now Trump's like, yeah, I think I'll take Greenland too. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Is it like a rush for land grab all of a sudden? Was China going to go into Venezuela? Was China going to get Greenland? Denmark owns Greenland. And now it's like, it's all our investments. So we're going to take it. It's like monopolizing the world. It's crazy. He's running it like a business. I have no idea how the world got so messed up in the few months that I haven't been on air, but I've got a lot to talk about, guys. I see a lot of people in the chat. Let's see. We got, what is this? Sin Future. We got Henry Sherman again. I don't trust government. 1% man. All they do is tax us and get rich. Well, that's just it. Remember, we're going to get rid of the overtime tax, and the tariffs are going to make it so we don't get taxed at all. Now we're going to get $2,000 rebates because they're worried people aren't going to pay taxes. You know, they hired a bunch of lawyers. Was it 400 lawyers to do the Jeffrey Epstein files? Was it just they just give them a Sharpie and they're just like, yeah, blackout, whatever they're supposed to see there, and nobody's going to care. Crazy. Also in the chat, I got Jason talking about Agenda 2030. Well, what's crazy is we weren't about to UN Agenda 21 like 20 years ago, like 15 years ago. What was her name? Rosa Corey. God bless her soul. She's passed on. She wrote a book, Behind the Green Mask. We had her in the show probably 3 or 4 times. Very powerful. She had a website called Democrats Against UN Agenda 21. I don't know if it exists anymore, but if anyone wants to check that out, it might be there. It might be. I got Kristen Megan. What's going on? I'm different on the situation at the moment, but I could argue both sides. Well, so here's the other thing is, like, this chick, all the propaganda out there is saying that Renee Good, right, was a paid actor. She was at all these protests, right? Another crisis actor situation where people are photoshopping images or putting them in there. Like, there's no real evidence that she's funded by Soros and she's at these protests and doing this stuff. For all we know, she lived a couple blocks and she was just trying to get the hell home and was scared out of her mind. She's like, what's going on? There's people with guns. And her being, I'm guessing, left, she might have been terrified. People on the left are scared of guns, a lot of them, unless they're from Wisconsin, and you would think Minnesota, but she's from Denver, I think, or originally California. I think she lived in both. I could be wrong. I know Denver for sure. And, you know, Denver you'd think is kind of gun friendly. You know, it's a little kind of in the middle, right? Could go both ways. But Wisconsin, we all hunt. That's why with the Kyle Rittenhouse and Kenosha unrest, it was just like crazy how many guns were there because people on the left have them there because they understand their right to protect themselves, which I appreciate, by the way, right or left. I'm an independent. So, but it's interesting. And I know I want to get back to a couple of things on this topic. This one as well, which we touched on, that, you know, they're instructed not to put themselves in harm's way or where they have to use lethal force. Now, did this agent do everything he could to not use lethal force? It seemed like he got away, you know, he got out of the way just fine, and he was good enough to shoot her through the window and take 2 more shots. I don't even know if he got hit by her car. But I know Donald Trump made a tweet saying he saw an ICE agent get run over. That didn't look like run over to me. Did that look like it got run over by you? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Let's see, we got Paul. Renee fought the law and the law won. She fought the law and the law won. I mean, yeah, but if you want a bunch of Judge Dreads out there, the law's job is to bring you into the courtroom for your day in court, right? They're not supposed to be using lethal force. It's the judges, like, obviously, if it's between you or them, yeah. But I think in this situation, if that guy was not in the way, she didn't pose a threat, right? The only reason why she posed a threat is he put himself in a position where he had to use lethal force, which he didn't have to do. So, again, I'm saying that, you know, you're right, the law did win, but that's not the kind of law that you want, is it? Is it? You want some authoritarian dude who got bitched at by his wife all day, probably pissed off at the world, bounced a check, having to deal. I mean, everyone has a bad day, but like this guy, do you want that guy to come and pull you over for a traffic stop? Or what's next? Is a Waymo going to go through one of these like ICE raids and they're going to shoot the person in the back seat because a Waymo won't stop? I mean, you know, it's just bad situation. I'm not in agreement. I don't think ICE agent, I think he's justified by the law. I don't think he had to make that decision. I think he could have gotten out of the way probably just fine. And then they had her license plate, right? This kind of goes back to every other government issue we've had in the past. Ruby Ridge, ATF, right? Or Waco, Texas, David Koresh. They could have arrested David Koresh going to the grocery store. They didn't have to blow up a whole combine, kill a bunch of women and children, and take tanks and roll over a bunch of stuff in order to get David Koresh. They could have gotten him at any time and doing anything, but they had to make a spectacle out of it. They had to prove their point. And what a disgusting thing that was. Not that I agree with David Koresh. I thought what he did, you can hold both ideas that David Koresh was a POS, but the women and children in there didn't deserve to die because they were, following a cult leader. So we're going to just roll tanks through every occult in the nation, the Masonic lodges next, and, it's a cult. We don't agree with them. Just bulldozer. Like, you don't go over a bunch of people because of one person's crime. So anyways, there's other examples that we could use throughout history. How about that cop that got droned out in California? I can't remember what his name is. Doesn't ring a bell. I'm trying to remember. I'd have to look that up. So if somebody in the chat can remind me of the cop that got droned out in California a couple years back. I mean, that's another one. Did they have to drone him? Like, okay, is he Rambo on the hill? I get you. But that's a little different. If you got Rambo and he's planting bombs, he's shooting at you. Like, I'll be like, ICE agent, you're justified. This guy's like, he's shooting at you, right? This was a 37-year-old female, unarmed. Well, she had a vehicle, so you could consider that being armed. And she's probably scared shitless. And one guy was telling him to get out of there, and that's all she heard. And she's turning around, other guys are yelling, get out, get out. And she don't know who they're yelling at. She's probably looking behind her to pull back. And I don't know, man. I don't know. If it turns out that Renee Good was an activist and she was a paid actor, I would be very amazed. I think this is another example of our government acting way, way out of its bounds, and making bad decisions. But I think that a lot of us are starting to get or ask questions about the current administration with Donald Trump and the way things are being handled. So that being said, guys, I'm kind of curious on what your guys' thoughts are on, the current situation we got going on. I see that there's a lot of people in the chat. Department of Homeland Security Secretary admits death of woman shot by ICE in Minneapolis was preventable. Was preventable, you don't think? I posted today the same people that celebrated when Charlie Kirk was murdered now pretend they never did and act morally outraged about a woman being shot in Minnesota by ICE. The left-right social engineering is in full swing as people are taking two sides of the coin, right or left. Lacey says the video shows her hitting the officer in front of her. If you haven't seen the video, maybe ask why they haven't shown that. Showing you all available angles. Okay, so maybe he was hit. Maybe we just got a bad angle, and that's what they want to show, right? I want to mention it doesn't take much for a cop to invoke a reason to defend himself and to shoot you with deadly force. It's restraint that 99% of law enforcement show that separates us from third world countries. And randomly shooting our citizens like what we saw in Minneapolis. From what I've been reading, it's against protocol for law enforcement to step in front of a vehicle in these type of situations. No victim, no arrest. Yeah, what crime did she commit? Who is the victim there? It's another good question. So, I'm kind of torn, like a lot of you out there are in the situation. Krista Megan Kelly's like, I could go either way, and that's the truth. That's just the way it is. You could go either way. And the more I think about it, the more I think that that law enforcement officer needed to use more restraint. More restraint. It's just what they do. If you're that scared of your job that you need to shoot a lady in a car or get in front of it, I just don't get it. Nah, it's just not right. So let's see what we got here from you guys in the chat. We have more conversations going on. We got Jason. Holy cow. I'm trying to keep up with those. He knows a lot of people we used to run around with. I don't think I know him. Who are you guys talking about? Kyle? Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse? Or Kyle, their friend. I don't know. I was just by you. I would have stopped over. You bunch of friends are talking in the chat. Here we go. My closest big city is Duluth, Minnesota. So people from Minnesota are tuning in. ICE is today's KKK. Plain and simple. Terrorizing communities, hiding their faces, and relying on government to be their cover. Interesting viewpoint. Don't know if I agree with that one. I wouldn't say that they would be KKK. I'm almost more like, the brown shirts. They're not any better. But I think everything everyone tries to make is ethnic or racist, and it's very dividing. So I try to bring people together, and we should. There are people are like, oh, pattern recognition. Yeah, that's a nice way of just saying you're being an asshole. Anyways, and by the way, the KKK was founded by the Dems, and what's her name, Margaret Sanger, or whoever started Planned Parenthood, was giving presentations at KKK meetings, and it was started by a Mason called Albert Pike. Just so you know. Google it, look it up. It's in one of their encyclopedias. I have it. I just to prove to my other Masonic friends that, Albert Pike isn't the greatest thing. Also, very interesting thing on this subject. Alex Jones was talking today, I think it was today, about how British royalty and the British throne still has control over Canada and all these places, when he was talking about Greenland and everything else. But it reminded me of a book that was written by Jonathan Williams, and it was in the Library of Congress till 1980s, right? And this book was called Legions of Satan. And I'm going to go ahead and load this here for you guys to see on the screen, because Legions of Satan was an interesting book that took place in the 1800s at the signing of capitulation with George Washington. Okay? And let's see, we'll pull it up, get you on the screen, Kriston. Here it is. We're going to pull it up from archive.org. It's, by the way, the book was removed and stolen from the Library of Congress. What's interesting is the book was predominantly used during the McCarthy era. And people were like, oh, it's just a conspiracy. Well, let me tell you about this other interesting conspiracy that's right. And here we go. Let's switch the screen on over. Legions of Satan banning. We could probably go full screen on this one. Let's see here. Full screen. Legions of Satan. And where do we got it? Right here. We'll zoom in. What's interesting to me is this was written, by the way, there are two Jonathan Williams. There's a father and a son. So one of them, I got an argument with a Mason once because he's like, oh, he wasn't in the area of that time. And it turns out there's a older, Mr. Senior and Junior. And what's interesting is General Cornwallis, while surrendering his army, and this was written in 1781, was that General Cornwallis revealed to General George Washington during the signing of the Article of Capitulation by Cornwallis at Yorktown that a holy war will now begin on America, and when it is ended, America will be supposedly the citadel of freedom, but our own millions will unknowingly be subjects to the crown. Cornwallis went on to explain what would seem to be a self-contradiction. Your churches will be used to teach the Jews' religion, and in less than 200 years, the whole nation will be working for divine world government. Sounds like Zionism. The government that they believe to be divine will be the British Empire. All religions will be permeated with Judaism without even being noticed by the masses. And they will all be under the invisible, all-seeing eye of the grand architect of Freemasonry. It is certain that Senator Joseph McCarthy did much research on the communist conspiracy. And that's something that you won't hear probably on any other show. Just because I'm a nerd and I like to study the history of things. So there's that. So I got a video here for you guys and I want to play it for you. And this is kind of like the thought process of a lot of people with what's going on with Donald Trump. And I see we got a bunch of people in the chat, both on YouTube and on Facebook and on X. And it's really interesting to me to talk about this situation because a lot of people are abandoning Trump, right? I was never fully on board. Don Veidt Jr. would always roll his eyes because he released the January Sixers. He got, who else did he get? He got somebody out of prison. I can't remember. Who was the big one that everyone was trying to get out of prison? That cryptocurrency dude. Can't remember his name. It's been a little while. But then we had Doge, right, which was a big flop. What about all the rest from all the people that were like frauding the government? What about there's like government is our entire government is like a giant fraud. It's just crazy, like what's going on in this world. I don't know. Anyways, we're going to add this video to the page, and we're going to see what you guys think about this. Here we go. All right, you guys ready? Here it is.
This morning, Donald Trump had a meeting with all the House Republicans, and he wishes that they would explain to him what the hell is going on with the public, saying he has the right policies and doesn't understand the recent criticism. Well, the first problem is if you really wanted to know what was going on with the public, the last people on the planet you should be asking are the House Republicans. They're not going to tell you the truth. They'll tell you it's online anti-Semitism that's being paid for by influence by Qatar and Iran. I'll try and tell you the truth, so I'll tell you the truth from my perspective anyway. You campaigned on no new wars, but yet you've spent the majority of your first year as a president interfering in foreign conflict, while the rest of us really struggled this year, okay, with inflation. You tell us there's no inflation, but our pocketbooks tell us that there is inflation. You tell us that the economy is better, but our pocketbooks say that the economy is not better. That tactic didn't work under the Biden administration, and it sure as shit isn't working anymore now. Everybody hates Lindsey Graham.
Facts.
Everybody hates Lindsey Graham. The tariff conversation. You built up and built up and built up and built up that we were going to get all this money from tariffs and that maybe eventually we weren't going to have to pay income taxes anymore. But so far, none of that has come to fruition. What you offered us instead was $2,000 checks. And I am firmly convinced you only offering us these $2,000 tax rebates in order to ensure that we're going to file our taxes. That the only reason you're doing that is because of the tax roll conversation that has been happening for a couple months now, and it finally caught fire. You built a ballroom. Fine. Build a ballroom. Fine. Use rich people's money to build the ballroom. I don't really care if you build a ballroom, but I don't understand why that was made a priority in the first year of your presidency and why you've tried to make it such a big deal in the first year of your presidency when people can't buy homes. And instead of helping people buy homes or making sure that people were making enough money to buy homes or even cars at this point, you offer them 50-year mortgages, which is basically a precursor to universal and generational debt. The Epstein documents. You called it a hoax. We all know it's not a hoax. We know it's not a hoax. We arrested some asshat from Venezuela in the middle of the night, get him on a plane, flew him back to this country, and then are trying him in New York in like 14 hours. We couldn't arrest one person that was involved in the Epstein list. You know that they shouldn't be redacted. You know that there's names of very high-profile people on there that were sleeping with children. We arrested the president of Venezuela or the leader of Venezuela before we touched anybody domestically. When the Democrats were in charge during Joe Biden's administration, they ruined everything. The COVID stuff, okay, going to war for Ukraine, the money laundering, they ruined everything. And there was no accountability. There's not even any talk of accountability. The only thing that we continue to see is everybody out here telling us that we should be more grateful, throwing us these breadcrumbs, screaming at us that we should be more grateful. The people of this country deserve better than that. You're giving us $2,000 tax rebate checks, but you're offering $3,000 right before Christmas for any illegal alien that is still in the country that's willing to deport themselves back. Gonna save us money in the long run. No. Bring somebody in, find them, and deport them. They're all on the welfare system anyway. Do a fucking audit. Just come in and deport them. Uphold the law. National Guard into all these big cities. And deported. So just do it. Instead, you're bribing them. And then they can go back with their $3,000 check and then they can come back again. They gotta do it legally this time. Sending millions and billions of dollars to both Israel and Ukraine while Americans are stuck here with 50-year mortgages. Did you know, and you have to know this, you're the president, that Israel has free healthcare, that Israel has free, they get checks for every month for every child that they have. Did you know that they get checks for maternity leave? They have free schooling. They've got everything. Israel already has that. We don't have that, but Israel has that. But we keep sending the money. We pay for that when we can't afford to have that of our own. That's a problem. Doge audits. What happened with that? Why are we not holding more people accountable with the Doge stuff? Is anybody arrested? Is anybody going to be arrested? Shrimps on treadmill? How many millions of dollars for shrimps on treadmill? Is anybody going to be held accountable for any of that? There's too much foreign influence in our Congress, in our presidency, in everything. There's too much foreign influence. There's too much foreign lobbying. The riddles. Can we stop with the riddles? Every time something happens that is viewed relatively unpopular by the public, by you, to you, okay, all of a sudden we start posting Q stuff. It's old. It's tired out. It's done. With the riddles. We don't want riddles. We don't want riddles. We want transparency and we want accountability and we want to see it. We want it. That's what we want. That is what we voted for, and that is not what we're getting. We're getting more riddles. And I feel like this is just a few of the things that people are extremely disappointed. So if you really want to, I doubt it, but if you really want to know, this is just a few. And I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts the people in my comments will also name some of their frustrations. If you really want to know, don't ask the influencer. Don't ask the GOP. They're busy taking selfies and writing books. If you really want to know, come and ask us. This morning, Donald Trump had
So that being said, and the mic check, so I apologize. This here is the Donald Trump Epstein files that everyone's talking about. It says, basically, I'm just wanting to reconnect with the original detective that called me and I offered information about this. And it asks, how is this contact known? He was orchestrating a deal along with my uncle where different men and a few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to sharpied out with them when I was 13 and pregnant. And it says the witnesses and information is Donald Trump, and he's the age 70 at this time. Additional info, again, just trying to find out what the New York Police Department detective on the FBI Sex Trafficking Task Force that called me a couple of weeks ago and spoke to me about some of these issues. How is the contact known? It says he participated regularly in paying money to force me to blank, blank, blank with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. Yeah, I mean, yeah, can we get some answers on this? Yeah, so a lot of people said that they had a log out, come back in. No, that was me, guys. I apologize. See, yeah, that's why I'm doing these test runs before going on radio, so I can get used to the habits of using this platform and get comfortable with it. I see we got a bunch of people in the chat, but this is just interesting and crazy stuff. Like, who would think that Donald Trump would be on a boat and yacht in Lake Michigan? I mean, okay, 13-year-old present at a murder. Was it a sacrifice? What was going on here? I mean, Bohemian Grove 2.0? I don't know. I know Mackinac Island, that was another place. That's up in the UP. That's, again, Lake Michigan, Lake Superior. They could bring the girls over to Mackinac and pick up the politicians and go on the yacht. And, yeah, I don't want to even think like that. I'm angry, man. But nonetheless, This is the world that we live in. This is what's going on. We're going to jump into the comments. If you want, you can drop a comment right now on X. You can drop a comment on Telegram. We are live on Facebook, The Rundown Live, as well as YouTube /Rundown Live. And follow us, right? Smash that like button. Follow us. Hit the alerts. I wish we were live on Rumble, but unfortunately we are not. And so basically, again, one more look at this, guys. One more look. This, there's many different views, I guess, about this whole situation, but it just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't sit right with me. It's sad.
Why did they really ban the most effective fat?
All these commercials. Well, let's see here. We got this here. There she is.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do? You are fucking criminals! You're fucking criminals! What the fuck? What the fuck? What the actual fuck? You are fucking insane! What did you do? You! Shame! 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 Shame!
There it is. No big deal. And she's yelling at him, shame, shame, shame. And he's just like, move on, move on.
Shame!
Move on.
Shame!
Never mind what happened here. Nothing to see here. No big deal. Does it all the time. Does it all the time. What a disgusting situation. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in today. The Rundown Live will be live 5 days a week for 1 hour every day. The podcast will be available on both KGRA, which is Spotify, Ground Zero Plus, which is a really cool place. We'll get into that as well on a different episode. If you guys really want to support me, you really could help me out. You can send me a Venmo or buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee, guys. I'm thirsty. I could use a coffee right here. Buy me a coffee. You can do that. And or send me a Venmo. You just go ahead and screenshot this with your camera. You grab out your cell phone, you open up your camera, and it'll take you right to the link where you can donate and buy me a coffee. And I'm a thirsty coffee drinker. I've run out of birthday coffee, by the way. A lot of people send me birthday coffee. So, anyways, Aaron in the chat says, absolutely justified. And okay. So I'm not going to say that it wasn't justified because a law enforcement officer can always invoke a situation where it's justified to shoot someone if he wants to, right? What separates us from third world countries is the fact that we don't go around playing Judge Dredd. Our job, or the law enforcement's job, is to bring them in alive for their day in court. And they're not supposed to be, like, in that situation, back to this, right? DHS protocol says they should not be intentionally and unreasonably placing themselves in a position in which they have no alternative to use anything other than deadly force, which the ICE agent did by getting in front of the vehicle. So I have to say, legally, you're right, Aaron. Completely justified. Did it have to happen? I don't think so. Oh, wait a second. Krista Megan Kelly says, I need more donations so I can buy more tissues when his Green Bay Packers lose to my Bears. Hey, I heard Jeffrey Epstein was a Chicago Bears fan. I heard he liked the Cubbies a little bit more. Ayo! Yeah, that's why the Packers got to beat your Bears. And I also have to mention that, I let Krista Megan Kelly know all the time that if she was in Illinois, I think they would take her children for child abuse because she grew them up Chicago Bears fans, and they have a big domestic abuse problem in Chicago, dude. They beat, Chicago fans beat their wives when their team loses, but there's a solution. You put their wives in Packers jerseys, and then they can't beat them anymore. That being said, look at the time. You guys have a good one. I will be back live more. I'm just, as information comes in, if you guys find any new information, send it to me. Show tips at therundownlive.com. And again, if you want to support this broadcast, you can buy me an ugly coffee. I would love it. And I'm upgrading everything. So I'm trying to get everything up and going and improving the show. It's looking better. Let me know your guys' opinion. Does the new show look better? We lost our old YouTube channel, right? Tens of thousands of followers, millions of views. We're going to build it back up, and we're going to follow the rules. Kind of dumb. What can you do? Otherwise they pulled the plug. That being said, you guys have a blessed one. And thank you guys all again for tuning into the Rundown Live. You can find us on kgradb.com, band.video, home to Alex Jones, and Ground Zero Plus. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. I'll be in the comments for a little bit here.
Hey, what's that? A Nightscope K5. A what? A Nightscope K5. It's a 300-pound police robot that looks like R2-D2 that can detect abnormal noise and temperature change or known criminals. It will alert local authorities. Malls, sporting arenas, communities everywhere is getting robots. No way. It kinda looks like a Dalek from Doctor Who. The all-seeing mobile robots will wirelessly connect to a centralized data server, where authorities will have access to big data, making it possible to recognize faces, license plates, and other suspicious anomalies. Big data. Your Facebook, Tinder, conversations, banking history, credit purchase history. That sounds like a Dalek to me. Have you ever heard of Stingray technology or Hailstorm? No. Boy, you need to tune into Kriston T. Harris. That's how I feed my brain. Rock.
Now, you don't know it yet, but you are listening to History in the Making while you are listening to this show.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, yet as mortal as his own.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of the Rundown Live, Kriston T. Harris.
Looks innocent enough, doesn't it? Lots of young people play cornhole in the park. Seems like a good place to toss a bag around. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. Let's take the case of Ronald Farber. Ronald played cornhole all afternoon, and he didn't feel like throwing bags alone, so he decided to ask another boy. He'd done it 100 times before. He didn't think anything was unusual when the boy struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. What Ronald didn't know was Ralph was sick. A sickness that was not visible like swine flu, but no less dangerous and contagious. A sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a conspiracy theorist, a paranoid person with a desperate need to feel they have a special knowledge that somehow sets them apart from the masses. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful. If they are too open-minded, if they question the official versions of the facts, and if they don't trust the United States government. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. He may appear normal.
This weekend, bring your friends on down to Monsanto's High Fructose Corn Patch. Take a corn ride, climb the corn, sip corn cider, kick the canned corn, slide down Corn Mountain, Rinse off in a golden corn shower. Last night's corn. Kitty corn maze. Maze. Cornhole with corn bags. Corn throating contest. Bonfire with corn roast. Scary Scarecorn will be there. And Colonel Cornelius Colonel. Cornelingus. Or pick your own corn pumpkin. The kids will love our giant corn. And educational animal testing zoo.
Come get corny with us at Monsanto's High Fructose Corn Patch.
Monsanto's High Fructose Corn Patch. We put corn in everything.
And because of this administration, we are tonight a world divided. We are a nation becalmed. We have lost the brisk pace of diversity and the genius of individual creativity. We are plodding along at a pace set by centralized planning, red tape, rules without responsibility, and regimentation without recourse.
Madam Speaker, I have a few questions for my colleagues. What if our foreign policy of the past century is deeply flawed and has not served our national security interests? What if we wake up one day and realize that the terrorist threat is a predictable consequence of our meddling in the affairs of others and has nothing to do with us being free and prosperous?
To be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting. How? Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan.
Promised of being one of the most effective treatments for AIDS and cancer in history. Now it's gone, and one of the most respected research facilities in the country is being blamed.
Participation in a process that validates an establishment that never meaningfully changes. What if that establishment doesn't want and doesn't have the consent of the governed? What if the two-party system was actually a mechanism used to limit so-called public opinion? What if there were more than two sides to every issue, but the two parties wanted to box you into a corner, one of their corners?
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of the Rundown Live, Kristi T. Harris.